So hi guys, my name is Julie and I'm the academic advisor at Ivado. Today I'm here to present you the guide to the pedagogical design of a training plan. The training plan is a tool that we use at Ivado to have a little bit of a design for our training. And what we want you to do is to write down objectives and information about the training so we can be all set to have a good design and respond to the expectation of our participants. So for the table of content of this video, I'm gonna show you a little information before you start. So questions to ask yourself before writing down the training plan. Then I'm gonna show you the different sections of the training plan. I'm gonna explain to you how to write good objectives with the Bloom taxonomy. The Bloom taxonomy is a pedagogical approach based on the competency-based approach that is used in every university or college in Quebec. Then I'm gonna show you around a little bit of teaching methods and teaching activities and tools and platforms that you can use. So I'm gonna go quickly on these parts. It's really for inspiration, but if you want, you can click on them and have more information. And at the end, I'm gonna show you additional resources. So before you start to write the training plan, you have to ask yourself a little bit of questions about the training you want to do. So first of all, what are the big questions your course will help participants answer? And what are the skills, aptitudes, or qualities to be developed? And how will you encourage your participant interest in these questions and aptitudes? Also, how will you convey your passion for the subject as to be captivating for the participants? And how will you communicate this with them to keep them thinking outside of the course? So we want them to really understand what you're saying and go back at home, go back at work, and think again about your courses. Then, how will you create a critical and natural learning environment in which you integrate the skills and information you want to teach into different questions, tasks, activities that participants will find fascinating? We want you to think a little bit outside of the box and just do authentic tasks that will arouse curiosity, challenge participants to rethink their assumptions, and examine the mental models of reality. So we don't want only theory that you pitch on the people. We want you to really think outside the box and create some tasks that are authentic, that represent what people will do at their work after or at school, depends. So yeah, these are big questions, but it's just to help you understand what we want a little bit and to think ahead before trying to complete the training plan. So for the training plan, we have two different big sections. First of all, we have the general information one. So in this table, you will have to write down the title. We want a title that is concise, captivating, and relevant. Then you will have to write down the target audience. So we want it precisely defined. What we want is really that you define what are the level that you're expecting your students or participants to be. So are they beginner, are they intermediate, are they expert that really want to learn something specific. Then we want a training description. So a short summary, 2-3 lines of the training. You will have to write down the training objective. So there's only one. We want to know at the end of this training what will the participant be able to do. With this training objective, you're going to decompose it into smaller titles or topics. So for each models that you will have. So these models and these titles has to be in pedagogical alignment with the model objectives as defined below. Then you're going to write down the duration, the teaching methods. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later. The training modality, so is it face-to-face, hybrid, or online? And the name of the instructor or instructors. So here you have a little example. So I'm going to skip ahead because you have the time if you want to read it. Then we have the breakdown of the training models. So this is the second part of the training plan. You're going to have a little description of each model with the title that you used before. So yeah, you're going to write down a little bit the outline of the model, the objective. So there's one objective per model also. And you're going to deconstruct this objective into other specific objectives. So really this is the list of one by one, each task or activities, what will the people learn about this. So I'm going to show you how to write down objective later, but you have a big objective for the training, you have smaller objective for each model, and these smaller objectives are also deconstructed into specific tasks or activities. Then you're going to write down the teaching material, so any material you need or technological resources used for the learning's activity, and also the duration of each model that can differ for each one also. Then you're gonna have the model and team activities. So this is also for the section about each model. So you're gonna have to do it for each one. And you're gonna take the specific objective that you wrote down before. So maybe you have 2, 3, 4, 5 for each model. You're gonna do a brief description of this objective. You're gonna write down the key content related to this objective. And you're gonna put example of activities that you will do for each objectives. Then you can also have the duration and an evaluation. For sure at Evado, we are not, it's not evaluation that are summative, but maybe you can do formative or little quizzes or activities that people have to write down things. So how are you gonna evaluate that people understood what you were saying? So it's really important to do some of them a little bit, maybe not for each model, but it can be really interesting for people to understand what do they understood and what do they have to work more on. For that, you also have an example for the model. So this is the first table that you have to write, and this is the specific objective deconstruct into teaching activities. So how do you write pedagogical objectives? So a pedagogical objective is what we aim to achieve through a training action. It describes a performance in the form of an observable, sorry for this word, behavior that the learner will be able to achieve and which can be evaluated. So it can be a little bit difficult to formulate objective, but it offers many advantages from a pedagogical point of view, because it clearly announces the objective to the learners and give a precise meaning for the learner's learning. So this is really interesting for the participants. It also helps you to select and design teaching activities to achieve their specific objectives. So you're in alignment with what you want to do at the beginning, and it establishes a direct link between specific objective and learning assessment. So I'm sure you know already about this, but an objective has to be SMART. So it has to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and temporally defined. Also, you have to be operational. So a pedagogical objective must be rigorously formulated and include 3 things: an action, verb, and object. So I'm going to show you a list of verb after with the Bloom taxonomy that's going to help you really to understand which level you want to go for each objective and the behavior, the expected behavior related to it. Then you have a success criteria. So how will the objective be achieved or not? And a condition or context of achievement. So maybe you're going to be asking them some example here. So to use the equation, so this is the verb you use. And then from the kinetic theory, so this is for the kinetic theory of gases in a problem solving context. So you have the verb, you have the performance criteria, and you have the condition of context and achievement. Sorry. So you have also 2 other examples. So the Bloom taxonomy is what we use in pedagogy to be sure to develop the high-level skills in our students. We want to ensure not only that they understand the content, but they're also able to apply it, analyze, synthesize, or evaluate it. So every teaching sequences must be organized so that these skills are acquired in a graduated manner. We don't want students to, for example, go evaluate or synthesize something if they don't understand it or are not able to analyze it at first. So there is six levels, in the Bloom's taxonomy. So the first one is to remember. So this is the easiest one, so people recall facts and basic concepts. So they're able to duplicate, list, memorize, repeat. So as we know, this is the first level. Then we have understand. So when you remember things, but now you're able also to discuss about it, explain a little bit, identify, report, select, or translate, for example. Then you're able to apply it. So when you remember something, you understand it, you can apply it, so you can execute, implement, solve, demonstrate, interpret, schedule, sketch. Then you can analyze it. So when you are able to draw connections among ideas, to contrast, distinguish, experiment. The fifth level is evaluate. So justify a stand or decision. To evaluate something, you really need to understand the four levels before. So to be able to judge, defend, support, critique. And then the level at the top of the pyramid is to create. So when you're able to do the 5 other levels, you're going to be able to produce new or original work. You're going to be able to assemble, construct, develop, formulate, etc. So when you have a training that is, for example, 2 hours, that's it. I'm sure your participant will not be able to create something. They might only remember, understand, maybe apply a little bit. So when you create your objective, you have to think about that. If you have a big 15 weeks training at the beginning, probably your objectives are going to be at the lowest part of the pyramid. So first week, you're going to have some basic concepts. You're going to recall facts, and students will be able to do a little bit of memorizing. Then in week 2, 3, 4, they're going to understand a little bit more these concepts, and then they're going to apply it, analyze it, and maybe we'll go on to evaluate and create, but maybe not. So you really have to go into a graduated way when you construct your objectives. This is an example of action verb with each level. So for memorize, you have a list, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. Sometimes you're going to see that words are there 2 times. So for example, you have compute in understand and compute in apply also. It depends on the context, but it can be both in a different training. So this is a list that can help you to find ideas when you write down your objectives. So now I'm gonna go a little bit quickly about teaching methods. So So each teaching methods wrote down here: flipped classroom, problem-based learning, project-based learning, peer learning, and serious games are example of teaching method that you can use instead of doing only magistral explanation or only showing PowerPoint and people are listening and are not active. So here at Ivado, we want really to have active learners. So we recommend you to read a little bit about these teaching methods, and maybe some of them are going to inspire you. So if you want to know a little bit more about each of them, you can click on read more here, and you're going to have a little definition, tips, and resources about it if you want to do a little training and understand. So yeah. Then you have a lot of pedagogical activities here. So there is the first one is always lecture. So it's an oral presentation of content by the teacher in which learner typically remain passive. So you can do a little bit of that. But as I said a lot in my video, we want you to do a little bit more than that. So for example, you can do interactive presentation. So the learner is more active and at the center of learning. So you're going to do discussion, teamwork, problem solving. You can do practical and exercise workshop. There's 20 of pedagogical activities in this little video. So I'm just going to not go ahead through all of them. But if you want to know more for each of one, you have the definition. And on the plus, you have also resources to understand a little bit more how it works, example of teachers who use these activities, or you can also find some templates for some of these activities. So I'm gonna just say there is also project, discussion, puzzle. You have testimonial, expert coming into your class, movies, videos, balado, readings. You can also use case study, demonstration, brainstorming and concept mapping, role play and simulation, experiment and lab, presentation by participants. So I'm really going fast, but you can take the time to read all of them. Poster sessions, speed dating, aquarium. And finally, minute quizzes and 1-to-all and 1-to-4. So these are all suggestions, and we want you to take some of them, not all, and put it in your training plan at some point. So you can use what you're comfortable with and what works for you, and it depends also in the context. And if you need help understanding them, you can also reach out to me, and I'm gonna explain to you how it works, and we can do some example also. Also here I put some teaching tools and platforms. So I know some of you are really familiar with all these tools, but if you want to do a little bit more, or if you're doing an online classes maybe, it can really help you. So here you have explanation. Also, if you click on plus, you will have a little bit of a description of what is the application and resources to use it. So we have Zoom this is the platform that we use for any online courses. But the other one are application to use for pedagogical objectives. So for example, Edpuzzle is an application where you can put questions into videos. Kahoot is for quizzes. It's a little bit playful for your students. You have Canva, that is an application to do infographics. Google Forms if you want to do surveys or a little formative evaluation. HooClap is a great application to do interactive presentations, so you can put your PowerPoint into HooClap and add some little concept mapping or little questions in between the slides. You have a Socrative, that is also an application to use for quizzes. Padlet, which is a wall where everyone can put some information, links to video and everything. So it's really great for collaborative teaching. You also have Miro, that is a little bit like Padlet but with more functionality. So if you want to do concept mapping, or if you want to do wall of creative ideas, brainstorming, it's really great. And Mentimeter, which is also another application to put some questions into your slides. So you can go ahead and just choose some of them or not, but these are all great applications that we use that helps to do interaction with your students. Sometimes they're shy, they don't want to talk, but if you ask them questions to respond with their phone or online, it can really put more discussion into the class. Finally, you have additional resources here. So you have the Ivado infographic about icebreaker activities. So if you don't know how to start your presentation, these are five ideas how to do it. Then you have an HSC infographic about learners' motivation and the key principles of andragogy. So if it's the first time you are teaching to adults, it's different than pedagogy. So there is a little information about that here. There is a science science and practice for adult education. So for sure, I could say that the first thing that is different is that they have a lot of experience, and you have to take account of this experience when you teach to adults. And they have higher also expectation about what they're gonna learn into the class. They have higher motivation. So these are all the things that you have to know when you start teaching to adults. Oops, sorry. So if you click on it, you're gonna have access to these infographics. So yeah, this is the end of this little capsule. I hope you learned a lot, and if you have any other issues, questions, you can write down to me or to the gestionnaire de formation with you. So you also have the link to the template of the training plan that you will have to write. So I'm telling you, good writing, and I hope your training goes well.